Welcome to Sweet Bay Lane. If you're new here, I'm Tracy, and I'm so glad you stopped in to craft with me because this is part 3 of a 3-part series where we are working with the wood blanks from the Dollar Tree. Now, if you missed part 1 and 2, I'll have those linked in the description box below. But for this DIY craft project, we're going to be working with one of those wood blank trinket boxes. So let's go ahead and get started.
And along with the wood trinket box, you're also going to need some scrapbook paper and one of your favorite photos. Now, I matched my photo with my scrapbook paper, and also the smaller the print on the scrapbook paper, the better your project's going to turn out. And the first step in our project is going to be removing the hardware from our trinket box. And this is easily done with a small Phillips head screwdriver, which they also sell at the Dollar Tree. And once we've removed the hardware and the stickers, we're going to set our hardware aside because we're going to be using that later. And we're going to continue on and paint or stain our box. I'm going to be painting mine in this beautiful antique green color. I painted my box on the outside, leaving the inside blank because mine's going to be holding jewelry. But you could paint the inside as well. And once our project has dried, we then come in with a little bit of sandpaper and distress the edges. Now this is a completely optional step, but I just like the rustic feel it gave to my box. Now that we have that done, we're going to move on to adding our favorite photo. And to do that, it's quite easy. I just printed out some of my favorite photos on a piece of printer paper, chose which photo I wanted, and then I came in and traced around using the lid as the template around the subject of my photo that I wanted to appear on the top of my box. And once you get it traced, you'll then come in and cut it out with a sharp pair of scissors. You then need to attach it to your box, and to do that, for this one I'm going to be using some matte Mod Podge. I apply the Mod Podge on the back of my photograph along with the top of the box. Once it's adhered down, I let mine dry. Then I come in and you'll see the little edge of paper there. I come in with a piece of sandpaper and just clean off the edges, just making sure to stay right along the edge with the sandpaper. Then you have this perfectly clean edge around your photo. Then I came in and added a top coat of the Mod Podge to my photograph. Now we're bringing in our scrapbook paper, and for this I'm going to be using strips of my scrapbook paper to add a trim around the lid and the base of my box. This is why the smaller print comes in very handy for this project. And for this step, it's quite easy to measure the scrapbook paper. All you're going to do is just lay it on your lid or your box, the bottom of your box, to see exactly how wide you want your piece of scrapbook paper. And you can either mark it with a pencil, or like I did, I just marked it with my thumbnail and made a little indentation. Then I laid it in my paper cutter and cut the strip. Then you have a perfect strip of scrapbook paper. And then I did the same process for the bottom of my box. And if you prefer not to use the scrapbook paper, you could always come in and hand paint a trim around your box. That would be beautiful as well. Then once we have both our strips of paper cut, we'll then come in with some Mod Podge and Mod Podge the back side of our paper strips and add them around the lid and the base of our box, making sure to start at the back of the box. Once you get it wrapped completely around, you can either bring the piece of paper overlap on the other piece of paper, the beginning start of your strip, or you can come in with an X-Acto knife and give a nice clean cut on the corner. That way you can't even tell where the seam begins or ends. And as you'll see, I had to add a bit more Mod Podge to the beginning of my strip just because I accidentally almost started at the beginning or the front of my box. So in doing so, it kind of made my glue dry out a little bit, but that's okay. We'll just put some more on and off we go. And when our paper strips have dried, you can either leave it as is, but since I'm going to be using mine a lot, I'm going to add a clear coat with this Color Shot Clear Gloss. And when that's dry, we're then going to bring back in our hardware and add it back to our box. And this is pretty self-explanatory. The only thing I would tell you is that there's 4 longer screws and 8 shorter screws. So the longer screws are obviously going to go in the front hardware because it's a little bit thicker, as I'm showing you here, depth-wise, so it needs the extra length in the screw to attach to the wood. And now, once we have our hardware on, we have a beautiful, memorable trinket box. Thank you so much for joining me for this 3-part series. It was a lot of fun. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please go ahead and do so because we'd love to have you here at Sweet Bay Lane. Well, until next time, keep it crafty.